Interactions also led to new sciences, new way of buildings, constructions, art of making paper, distillation of wine, evolution of new languages, and many other things. Assalamu alaikum, namaste, good afternoon, shalom to all the distinguished dignitaries and delegates of R20 summit. Now coming to this historical grievances, the present day generation cannot be held liable for any injustice perpetrated by the forefathers and ancestors in any country, region or community. All persons have to be judged in the time they lived. A few centuries back in medieval times, concepts such as democracy, secularism, liberalism did not exist. Most human beings have commitment in their inner soul for the happiness and welfare of all on this planet. Now in medieval times, there were certain issues and conflicts which occurred in the Indian subcontinent. But even in those times, there were rulers and persons who believed in harmony, peaceful coexistence and brotherhood. And I have been asked by the organizers to highlight these persons and these rulers. Since time immemorial, India has been a land which has attracted many invaders and conquerors. It has also been a land of many opportunities, where many trading and mercantile communities had migrated and prospered. Even at the time when the Harappan civilization was at its zenith, it was attracting many communities and people who lived beyond the river Sindh and the high mountains. Known as Miluha to the world outside, the Indian civilization this side of the river attracted traders from many communities. If one reads the Rig Veda and compare it with what is there in Zend Avesta, we discover many intellectual and cultural exchanges which took place between those who lived in what we call India today and the region of Fars, the modern Iran. Those who invaded India since ancient times till recent history included many nationalities, ethnicities, religious groups and communities. The Greeks, the Mongols, Iranians, Turks, Arabs, Huns, Portuguese, French, Dutch, English, and so on. But each conquering race, ethnic group, or religion was to contribute to the development of the all-encompassing Indian culture. One invasion which most Indians remember for its brutality was the invasion of Ghaznavid ruler Sultan Mahmud. During his multiple invasions, he invaded India 17 times. Many cities were devastated and many places of worship, including ancient temples, were harmed. Some rulers also imposed discriminatory policies such as additional taxes on non-Muslims. This was known as jizya. Despite all this, there were a number of kings who stood for harmony and tolerance, and there were periods marked by peaceful coexistence. It was not conflict all the time. Interactions also led to new sciences, new way of buildings, constructions, art of making paper, distillation of wine, evolution of new languages, and many other things. Let me highlight the role of a few Muslim rulers who stood for unity and peace. A proper understanding of all cultures and religious traditions was a step taken by the Mughal Emperor Akbar, who in 1580 came up with the idea of absolute peace, or peace for all. This he calls Sul-e-Kul. There were 4 salient features of this. One was all religions have freedom of expression. There will be no discrimination on the basis of religion. And different religions, they will not fight with each other. And importantly, last, the religions, they will not undermine the status of the king or of the state. From 1575, he started the concept of a religious discussion to which experts of all faiths were invited. Jains, Brahmins, Hindu Pandits, Muslims, both Shia and Sunni, Christians, Zoroastrians and others. His interactions with religious classes of all religions were such that Islamic clergy doubted his religious credentials. A Jesuit priest remarked that by tolerating all, you are negating all. Akbar also started not only interreligious marriages, but also the project translating the text of one culture into the other. Thus, Sanskrit Ramayana and Mahabharata, Sanskrit texts of science and arithmetic, and even texts like Panchtantra were translated to Persian. Interactions between the Mughals and the locals were such that a large number of grants were given for the construction and maintenance of temples of Vrindavan in Mathura. The Mughal nobility from this period onwards comprised of people of various religious, ethnic, and racial groups. It was a cosmopolitan nobility, a feature so unique that we don't encounter it elsewhere. Such interactions and give and take continued under other Mughal emperors, Jahangir and Shah Jahan. If Akbar would discuss Vedanta with Yogi Devi, Jahangir used to visit other Hindu priests in their caves to discuss Vedantic philosophy. Shah Jahan in one of his temple grants mentions that lighting a diya is an earthen lamp, in a temple was equal to praying to the Almighty. The Hindu Rajput queens in the palaces of Akbar, Jahangir and Shah Jahan were allowed to follow their religious traditions and practices. During the reign of Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan, we have Prince Dara Shikoh, his eldest son, who not only had Upanishads, they are the Hindu religious scriptures. He not only got the Upanishads translated into Persian and wrote a book, Majmu'ul Bahrain, whose Sanskrit version was called Samudra Sangam. Majmu'ul Bahrain means confluence of two oceans or confluence of two seas. So the confluence of Hinduism and Islam. So Dara Shikoh was always searching for commonalities in the great religions, especially between Hinduism and Islam. Dara Shikoh believed what he wrote, that there was much in common between Hinduism and Islam, and Upanishads were also heavenly books which have been referred in other religious texts. Translating the Upanishads into Persian led to their subsequent translation into Latin and exposed Europeans for the first time to Hindu religious texts. Because at that time the Europeans, they knew Persian, but they did not know Sanskrit. So once the Upanishads or the Hindu scriptures were translated into Persian, they were translated into Latin and French, and for the first time the Europeans, they were exposed to the Hindu scriptures also. This give and take and development of common shared culture continued even during the 18th and 19th centuries. Unfortunately, all broke asunder under the rule and policies of colonial rulers and led to many unfortunate events in the recent history of the subcontinent, including partition of the country. It should be remembered that a vast majority of Muslims in India are converts from Hinduism. 90% of the Muslims in India, they are converted from Hinduism. The Indian society by and large believes in inclusiveness and has assimilated many ethnicities, religious groups and communities since time immemorial. Indian Bharatiya tradition is unique as we may not agree with the different views of others, but we respect and try to accommodate them. Diversity is the permanent phenomena of the nature, so we should all respect it and should not try for uniformity in the field of language, food habits, dress, religion, culture, festivals, and so on. In spite of differences in India, we always try to search the threads of cooperation and coordination. This is the basic feature of the Indian society. Thank you so much.